Hello, thank you for extending an invitation for Jodie and I to present our Basemaps, QTopo and other spatial applications for the Australian and New Zealand Map Society webinar series. Let's begin. Traditionally, the production of topographic maps and the collection of associated datasets was an expensive, lengthy process taking many months. After more than 30 years producing topographic maps, the Queensland Government had only covered 9% of the state at 1:25,000. The emergence of web mapping technologies provided the Department of Resources with an opportunity to address this coverage shortfall and better deliver topographic maps to a wider audience. The decision to shift from the individual map to whole estate-based data gathering was a significant step enabling statewide policy decisions supporting open data access, and the acknowledgement that spatial data underpins the economic development of Queensland were also important elements in developing this business case for QTopo. QTopo was first launched in 2014. It is provided free of charge and can be accessed by anyone using a browser on their computer or smartphone. It has functionality that helps users find features and places and allows users to produce digital topographic maps for their area of interest or download pre-generated maps. In 2020, QTopo was redeveloped, enhancing existing functionality using Web App Builder and our portal infrastructure. The software that underpinned the original app had reached end of life and was no longer supported by the vendor. After release of the new app, Geoscience Australia approached us to collaborate on a pilot to deliver their national 250,000 scale map series using a similar approach, giving us further insights into future opportunities. Some other notable developments with QTopo. An additional map zoom scale. QTopo has expanded from 18,056 to 9,028. These scales can seem random. They originate from the industry standard Google coordinate system and tiling scheme that uses complex mathematics to determine these values. The inclusion of 1:10,000 map sheet products. Unlike the 100,000, 50,000, 25,000 map sheets, the 10,000 map sheets do not cover the entire state. It was decided that there was too many map sheets in the 10K series to produce pre-generated maps for the entire state. We used statistics gathered from the custom mapping request and pre-generated map sheet downloads in combination with national parks and populated places to determine which areas of the state would be covered. The sparse number of features collected in very remote locations was also considered when determining these areas. However, if we receive any requests to include any particular area not already covered in the 10K series, we will be happy to permanently add those maps in the series. In the past, for a short time, the department produced topographic maps with an imagery base. We have brought these back. With the availability of recent capture statewide imagery, we saw an opportunity to produce a companion series to the existing traditional topographic map sheets. The imagery base provides unique perspectives and additional contextual information, especially in regional areas where typically less topographic features have been captured. 1:250,000 and 1 million map scales have been added to the custom print function. Lastly, users requested our map sheet series to be added to a Venza map library. This is particularly useful for offline use, as our map sheets are licensed under Creative Commons. We were happy to oblige. The department produces a suite of basemaps free to use for any purpose. What is a basemap? Basemaps act as a locational reference, providing a framework on which users overlay or mash up their geographic information. They provide context and should display quickly and have appropriately rich cartography. Basemaps come in two types, raster and vector. All our basemaps are currently raster tile basemaps. We have leveraged our efforts in designing and maintaining QTopo to produce a suite of basemaps whose content is largely derived from QTopo with different themes applied. There are 8 distinct basemaps available as shown. There are many varied uses for basemaps, with only some listed here. Listed here are ways in which our basemaps can be accessed. Granted, most of these methods require some spatial expertise and/or access to spatial software or platforms. We are considering future applications that will make accessibility easier for non-spatial people, allowing these basemap resources to be more widely utilised. Some of these basemaps are included as layers in Queensland Globe, enabling users to overlay their own geographic information. While acknowledging the risk of diverging into a technical discussion, I would like to briefly discuss the trend within the industry in relation to basemaps, as in future you may observe a change in the basemaps you use, their associated digital mapping applications and related products. For many years, most basemaps have been delivered to users as a raster tile, multi-scale maps pre-rendered as image tiles in JPEG or PNG to optimize performance. These pre-rendered image tile stacks, called caches, are stored in locations accessible to the server hosting the basemap, are nearly always created at 96 dpi, and can take weeks to generate. While there are some basemaps by their very nature will always be raster tile basemaps, most notably Imagery, for most basemaps the industry is transitioning from raster tile to vector tile basemaps. Vector tile basemaps are stored as code and rendered into a map by the user's device. The advantages of vector tiles are: 1. Display quality. They provide the best possible resolution for high definition displays. 2. They allow for dynamic labeling, producing clearer, more readable text. Additionally, they support on-the-fly labeling for heads-up displays. 3. Restyling, essentially allowing for an infinite variation of appearance that the users themselves determine. And 4. The ease of which vector tile basemaps can be updated. Revisions take hours rather than days or weeks to generate, allowing us to perform more regular revisions in comparison to our existing raster tile basemaps, which are biannually updated. The main disadvantage of vector tiles is that fewer cartographic niceties are supported by the JSON, in comparison to what is possible with spatial software, essentially meaning the design needs to be simplified when producing vector tile basemaps. Additionally, older viewers may not support vector tiles. This concern is diminishing as viewers modernize. One of the largest players in the mapping industry, Esri, is transitioning to vector tiles and have been moving many of their raster basemaps into what they call mature support, which means there will no longer be any updates to the service. The raster basemaps services in mature support will continue to be available for use by customers, with 2025 being the earliest time the availability may cease. In the near future, we plan to transition our basemaps to vector tiles, all but QTopo and the Relief basemap. We consider QTopo as our premium product with specific user requirements and high cartographic expectations. At present, we are unable to meet these expectations with the vector tile technology, and as such plan to continue to produce QTopo as a raster tile basemap for the time being. Although it is likely that a vector tile topographic basemap of lower quality will be produced to accompany the other vector tile basemaps. In future, as the technology matures, it is possible that all our basemaps will become vector tiles. While our basemap users get ready to adopt vector tile basemaps, we will be producing both raster and vector tile versions of our basemaps. We aspire to produce digital products that include all elements of the past hard copy maps. However, some elements may never be possible or practical to include with our digital topographic maps, such as distance markers to neighbouring population centres and universal grid references. The QTopo map series contains 24,460 individual map sheets, making the inclusion of map elements unique to each map not practical. As mentioned earlier, we are updating our raster basemaps twice yearly, and the map sheets once a year. Vector tile basemaps will make it possible for more regular updates. In relation to data quality, ensuring reliable and accurate and complete data is a significant challenge. Historically, collecting accurate topographic data has been an expensive endeavour, both financial and the number of work hours required. With both resources diminishing in recent years, it has been increasingly difficult to meet user expectations, with new avenues of gathering topographic information being explored, such as machine learning and crowdsourcing. And now I'll hand over to Jodie for the second half of our presentation.
The Department of Resources offers a number of spatial applications, each developed with a specific purpose in mind. For the purpose of today's demo, I'm going to quickly highlight an example from QTopo, Queensland Globe, and QImagery to provide a general understanding of the offerings for each one. Within QTopo, you can search for a location of interest in Queensland and refine this by specifying a search source. If I enter Kingaroy as my location of interest, for instance, it will list the available results from all available search sources. When one of these is selected, it will zoom to that feature. In this case, I'm going to pick the 1:25,000 map. It will zoom to and highlight the result on the map and display a pop-up that contains a linkage to the pre-generated topo or image topo map for that location. Simply clicking on the link will open the pre-generated map for that location in a new tab. You can use the geolocation tool to zoom to your location, or you can use the navigation tools to zoom to your area of interest. The custom print tool can be selected from the menu in the top right of the browser. Once the tool panel is open, you can add an optional subtitle, specify page size, file format, and the scale of your custom map can be selected under the advanced settings, with 1:10,000 set as default. Select print and a link will be generated for your current area of interest at the scale specified. You can create multiple maps per session, and once your link has been generated, you can open it in a new tab where it can be saved, shared, or printed. Within Queensland Globe, the Queensland Imagery, grey, light, and topographic base maps are included in the default layers. Other spatial data can be overlaid by using the Add Layers, Add My Data, or via the drawing tools. To demonstrate how these layers can overlay the base maps we've been discussing, I'm going to add a configured layer by selecting Add Layers. Within the Layers panel, I am able to change the visibility of these layers, so the appropriate base map can be selected for the map that you want to generate. Queensland Globe will require you to log in to an account to save and share maps, and you can do so via these account types. Or you can print to PDF or PNG to create a static map. The scale of the map can be adjusted and the viewing mode can be adjusted using the tools in the bottom left corner. Here I'm going to enter 1:25,000. At this scale, I'm able to open the Past Imagery tool. This will display a time slider for the aerial imagery available for this area. Georeferenced imagery can be added as layers, and geolocated footprints of individual frames can be added as places in the imagery previewed. Queensland Globe provides a linkage to QImagery where the raster file and associated world file can be downloaded. These are also discoverable within QImagery directly. There is more to explore in these spatial offerings, and we encourage you to do so. For further assistance or to provide valued feedback, please contact us via Open Data at resources.qld.gov.au. Thank you very much.